right? So time passes, and within the 5 years, even if you feel that it's a little bit far off, let me assure you, in 5 years, that place will be within the city. The
That's
other
a
thing
very
that I've seen,
valid point.
but then you'll have to move that 4 or 5 kilometers.
Hi Vivek, welcome to ReTalk podcast. There's a misconception, people have a lot of confusion on apartment and villas. Okay, there are a lot of debates around this. So, what's your take on it?
Good afternoon, and pleasure being with you.
Thank you.
This is a question that I've been asked a number of times, specifically because we have been positioned as a villa specialist,
Right.
and the take on a villa versus apartment. I have the following thought process on it. Right? If you look at how we grew up or how the childhood that we had spent, whether it is in Bangalore or other cities, which is what the buyers really represent today, they all grew up in independent houses. If you'll remember Indranagar, Koramangala, the 40 by 60 or 50 by 80, there was a backyard, front yard, your own terrace, things of that nature.
I mean, everyone would love to stay in a place like that.
And research clearly says that childhood is a very, very important imprint into as you grow up, right? So there is definitely a much closer connect with homes or villas or properties of that kind. And if you'd also look at apartments, this is a new age, 20 years, 25 years. I think in Indranagar, Airport Road, Diamond District and others, they were the early apartments,
Yes.
maybe in the 90s. So that's a new age for the new age.
There was no concept called apartments in Bangalore
Absolutely.
before 90s
Absolutely.
for sure.
It was Bombay that still had it. Bangalore were independent houses, right?
Yes.
So
Large homes.
So we certainly have an affinity for villas. But there are fundamental reasons why villas are better. Number one, if I look at it from an investment perspective. So each square feet of villa space that you own, you're backed with almost a square feet of land area. And in an apartment, for almost like 3 square feet of apartment that you own, you're backed by 1.
Correct.
Right? And if you look at how products appreciate or depreciate, construction is a depreciating asset.
Correct.
Land is an appreciating asset, right? So the underlying, if you have a 1:3 advantage, villas will always be the preferred choice. That's one. Number two is villas have more functional and more spaces which are very interesting, right? If you look at the backyard, front yard, you get into your own villa, you park your car, open your own door, you come in, you have your own backyard, you can move to the terrace.
The touch and feel is something awesome.
It's absolutely different. And this, I think people started realizing, and I remember one of my vendors called me up during COVID time, and he had an apartment in the 7th or 8th floor. He was like, I've been in this place, I'm not able to go out for the last like 4-5 months because you have to use the common lift that was blocked for usage. So all that you had to do was remain over there. And as people who stay in villas, we were able to go around, still walk out of the house. So it was that's where the second level of utility happens, right? So from a quality of living perspective, from a emotional attachment perspective, villa
Any day.
there is no second thought about it. But then where is the argument everyone should be buying a villa? The problem with the villa is that since it is backed by 1:1 land area, certainly a more expensive product.
So I was just coming to that point, asking that cost plays a very important role in both of these decision making.
Absolutely, and hence it becomes important for people to look at areas where the ecosystem exists, right? So if you look at Bangalore context, Sarjapur, North Bangalore, these are the areas which are really booming in terms of the villas, and there are reasons for it because office spaces are not too far off. You still have reasonable connectivity from a Bangalore standard, and you have schools very, very close by, right? So if you have an ecosystem where you can say that I can go another 3, 4, 5 kilometers further, I will get into a home that will be more personal, will be more emotionally connected. I think there is hands down with regard to villa. but then you'll have to move that 4 or 5 kilometers further down.
So
Else you put in a budget that.
So it's all about the mindset. If you want to have that kind of a space, then as you rightly mentioned, people should take a call that I am okay to go another 4-5 kilometers, but I am going to stay in a villa.
Absolutely.
Right. I
And
think
the
that's
other
a
thing
very
that I've seen,
valid point.
we did our first project in the year 2012 in Sarjapur in Domasandra, very close to Domasandra intersection. And people used to say it's very far off. Contextually, it's 12 years from when we had handed over or started handover process. And this now has become a favored location, right? So time passes, and within the 5 years, even if you feel that it's a little bit far off, let me assure you, in 5 years, that place will be within the city, right?
That's
So
right.
it's a 3 or 4 5 years hitch that you have to take. I remember my first villa when I was a student in US. I'd taken it up in, not student, I'd graduated and I'd started job. I'd taken up a villa in Whitefield.
Okay.
And same, that was in the year 2005-6.
Okay.
And it was, Whitefield was considered far off. After
I mean,
HL,
deserted place,
After HL, nothing was there.
Nothing good.
And now a person will pay a premium to put in there.
Put
And
in
that
there.
this is again, I'm adding another 10 more years
Yes.
to the cycle, right? So land always is an appreciating asset, and that's something which people need to remember.
Right. Now, as you mentioned, let's know more about NVT Quality Lifestyle. I mean, because you mentioned 12 years back you did your first project. So can you please give us more insight on what is NVT? What have you done in this 12 years and why people should come to you?
So the group was started by my father, and he did his engineering. He did his engineering from IIT Roorkee. Then was with HAL. He was in heading quality at HAL at that point of time. So he started a certification body, and he has 3 sons. We are 3 brothers. Fortunately, because we grew up in a very PSU kind of an environment in HAL Townships, where education was a
Priority.
predominant focus, predominant to a very great extent, right? We were able to go to good schools, so we put in good schools, and naturally led us to being able to crack certain exams. So Nitin went to IIT Bombay, I went to NIT, Tanuj went to RV, and then all of us moved to US. So Carnegie, Purdue, Wharton, some of the best schools we graduated, and we decided to start a career in India. We were sure that if not anything, we'll be able to teach. There was something that came in, but once we moved back, I think we started with the.
Was it a collective decision? 3 of you
It
decided
happened
that
independently. It happened independently.
Okay.
It was not a collective, but 2005-6 time frame, I and Nitin moved back.
Okay.
Tanuj moved back after 2010. But it was very clear. In fact, there were certain instances in US that made me come back.
Okay.
I remember I was working in Miami, and I had to go in for my driver's license. I saw the line for H1B or people who were not the citizens were longer, and I said I do not want to have that disadvantage when I'm starting my career.
Correct.
It is better that I go back to my home country.
Correct.
And
where you don't have to apply or prove yourself
prove your citizenship, right? And there are subtle points and smaller points, but that led us over here. And we started with a management college, but an opportunity opened up in 2010 in Sarjapur, and we moved into real estate because I've been a strong believer real estate or the developers, while they may not have the best of means in terms of, but they're the greatest creators.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not easy to create a township specifically within the Indian regulatory systems. Townships are almost like a bubble where you're living international standard in anywhere in the city. And also as creators, I think we are the industry where we create the maximum wealth. Perhaps in the last 10 years that we have been doing villas, we would have created more than 1,000 crores for our customers in terms of the appreciation. So we are truly a creator, and it's a great space to be in. We have tried to focus on villas. That's something that we love doing. And especially in east of Bangalore, we are recognized. We understand the design aspects. We clearly understand the construction, the specifications. I think what really truly differentiates us is in terms of the design. Spatial utilization, how we get everything together. And that's something which people have really appreciated and liked. So
Great.
we're enjoying every moment of it.
I know. I mean, it's good to know about the journey. I'm sure you guys are doing a fantastic job on that.
Yeah, creating a brand at any level is a very interesting exercise. I remember when we started, and whenever I used to go, whether it was a personal event or an outside event, I had to explain what NVT is, right? So 10 years at least has come to a stage where people recognize the brand.
I think east of Bangalore, people recognize you very well.
Very strongly.
Yes.
It's a very strong brand, and we have delivered. All our projects we have completed in 2.5 years. We are very transparent. Not that we do not make mistakes. It's a construction activity. Mistakes will happen, but we are very upfront about it, and we see to it that our intent is absolutely at the right spot. And that's what a professional is looking at it.
Absolutely.
So from our company, we believe very strongly by professionals for professionals. We are professionals. We will develop villas and projects which we would like to stay. So only if I am convinced that this will come into my house, does it come into our villa. And that goes in for whether it's a toilet tap or anything which is there in the kitchen, or it is the flooring. Everything has to go through that.
So you're trying to say that there is always a personal touch or a personal angle to it, saying that I'm going to stay here. That's the kind of projects what you guys are creating.
Absolutely, I live these projects. I love to stay in these locations, and any of the houses, right? I take a pride in it. I always tell that if I have to enter a township 10 years from now, I should say, yes, I built it and I built it well. And that's all about the creation and being a creator.
Moving forward, one common confusion, the way Bangalore has grown over a period of last 10, 15 years, is that whether to buy or rent, the buying versus rent, is a big confusion across the new generation set of people who are migrating from other cities, getting into Bangalore on job, business, various other things. What's your take on it?
Interesting question. I think there have been smarter pundits in the market who have taken a position on it, or moved away from the position of it. Either ways, but we need to look at home as either as a home or either as an investment. And I think that's where people get it wrong. How do you value living in a house and raising your children, and maybe perhaps getting your child married in that house, getting your first child into that house, going through ups and downs of married life in a house, building something which is as beautiful as a family? There's no way you can equate that with any financial, or you cannot add, you cannot put in a value. It's like, I remember there was an ad line, money can buy everything, but there's for something, there is something, right?
Right.
And hence, if it is a home, there is no valuation to these things, and that's something which you will not be able to get it out from a rental home, because that would require you to move from one place to another. I put in a lot of premium for my child to have a very, very stable and consistent life, and no amount of value will change that, right? Now, once that thing is taken care of, where you can identify that this is my home, then you move into the investment side of it, right? Which means that the real estate investment has to also be looked at as a stock market. There's no emotions attached to it any longer. I can buy, I can sell. When I know the company is not doing well, I will sell it. Otherwise, I will keep it. Same thing, start looking at it from a real estate perspective. And there are a lot of companies that are getting into it, will get into it, fractional ownership, whether residential,
various
other models will come in. But if you're looking at it as a pure investment, real estate consistently has given around 7 to 8% over a long-term period. Plus, if you look at a 5 to 6% rental yields, so it is at around 12%. But one of the things that people forget is real estate is the only asset where you can leverage, or people are going to give you a loan for it. You can go to the bank, you say that I want to buy a property of 1.2 CR, 20 lakhs is with me, the remaining 1 CR you fund, they will be able to fund. Your property will appreciate at close to 12 to 13% longer term horizon at 1.2%. 1.2 CR, whereas you have put in only the 20 lakhs and so I find that if you play it correctly, you will still make a 15%, and which is the same thing in the equities market. If you're a smart investor, you make money. If you're a dumb investor, you don't make money. It's not that everyone is making the 8 to 10%, right? And as we move, as this industry evolves into fractional ownership, diversification of risk, you'll see it is as good or perhaps better than the equity market as you go along.
Correct. Over a period of time, I'm sure we're going to see that.
So buy your first home, make it your home. There is no valuation to it. Investments can be in anything, right? At the end of the day, you live one lifetime, and you want to live it correctly.
Bangalore real estate market has unique challenges, demand and supply, especially towards east of Bangalore. So what do you have to say on this?
So I have been seeing reports for the last 5 years, or I can talk about that, 2000, pre-pandemic, pandemic, and now. If I look at the total Bangalore size, estimations are that we do close to 45,000, or we used to do pre-pandemic units in terms of the launch, 40 to 45, depending on the report that you see. Today, or 2013 was at around 55 or so. And in all these 4 to 5 years, the demand has been greater, right? So as a consequence, what has happened at this point of time, we are sitting on an overhang inventory, which is the number of months and the existing supply will get over, of somewhere close to 9 months in Sarjapur.
Oh,
it's just 9 months. And anything around 14-15 months is reasonably sustainable. It's only when it goes above that I consider it becoming, because the developmental life cycle for real estate project is long. North Bangalore, in fact, it's probably at around 7 to 8 months, and hence you have seen this huge uptake in the last 2 years. You've seen this annual increase of 18%, 18 to 20% year over year in the last 2 years. I just see that the demand outstrips the supply.
Could be because of the pandemic, because there was a slack there, so the demand has bounced
Definitely,
back.
because we are doing close to 45,000 of absorption prior to that. Launches moved southward to around 20,000 for a couple of years, and hence, like, the innate demand was there, but no one was speaking up, and that all those demand, which we call this the pent up demand, came in the last 1 or 2 years. But in spite of that, if I look at a curve and I say, okay, what is the average over a period of time, and I say, okay, let Bangalore is growing. I can talk to you about that. With the kind of growth Bangalore is having, maybe 10 to 15% year on year increase in the supply will absolutely not affect, and we're pretty much seeing that.
Do we have enough supplies?
Supply is much less.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, how do we create more? Are there anything as a developer you're looking into?
What you will see is more number of launches happening, because even the developers are coming out of the COVID 2 years of slow work didn't happen, acquisitions didn't happen, progress was less. You will certainly see demand being there. But with the way our infrastructure is, with the way approvals are, with the way it's a complicated business process, I will always believe that the supply cannot shoot up to unreasonable levels in a city like Bangalore, or a country like India. It would pretty much
gradually.
It will always be it will be reasonably gradual. But the demand, Bangalore, 13 million as we speak. We are projected to be 20 million in the next 6 to 7 years.
2030 projection.
2030 projection is a 20 million. Yes. 7 divided by who's coming into Bangalore? It's the people who have who will be buying. Yes. So Bangalore is in a spot which is very, very sweet. We are probably the 4th largest technological hub in the world. We constitute close to 40%, 50% of GCCs in the country. We are a startup capital. It's a preferred millennium city. I can go on and on in terms of why Bangalore will have its own trajectory of its own. And when people ask me, should I buy now? Prices have gone up. I say this is still the right time.
Right time to buy.
Right? Bangalore will never have a time which is the wrong time, at least for the next 10 years.
Right. Now, with real estate market evolving, what are the key future trends we can expect?
And that is in terms of how the products would be designed.
Yes.
Okay. If you, or I would like to look at this in terms of an antecedent will cause something to happen, right? If there's something happening today,
Yes.
which will cause developers to rethink or do differently in terms of the project. Perhaps two or three different trends that I see. One is the work trend, hybrid work, hybrid, where people are now working from home, which would mean that homes in terms of design will change slightly. You will start seeing office
Home
spaces,
office
home
kind.
office
I
concept.
think today the concept is more of home office.
You're right. And then multimedia rooms, things of that nature will start coming in. From a community perspective, you'll have co-working spaces within your clubhouses. So that's a design concept, right? Design homes would be designed to have people more at home rather than outside. Earlier, it was like focus on bedrooms because that's when people used to come back home to and go to sleep. Now there would be a lot of focus on the common spaces, right? Home, media room, and other functional spaces. The second antecedent to it is in terms of the rising prices of real estate, which would mean that the houses, whether it's apartment or villas, need to be designed with every inch in mind. Right? Especially if I have to look at villas, we generally have a family room on the first floor. I believe family room will go away in the next few years. It will get substituted by these common spaces, home office spaces, other functional spaces. So a lot of focus on each inch counts because each square feet is now expensive, right? Anywhere between 6,000 to 15,000. So you do not want to just spend on that. So this is in terms of the design aspect. Now, the third is the crisis, right? Today we face real challenges, water being one of them. Bangalore
Biggest
certainly
challenge.
has, and we need to get to it. And I believe that we will move homes which are much more sustainable as we go along,
Yes.
right? Whether it is the rainwater harvesting in the right earnest. You can always have rainwater
Just not for the namesake.
Not for the name's sake, right? How do you channelize? How do you build your storage tanks, or how do you conserve the entire water? How do you build the water levels up? Okay. All those things will become a primary focus because townships will become self-sustaining, right? So the number of trees that you plant.
Do you still give a value add for a villa over an apartment for this concept on sustainability?
Yes, definitely. It's more sustainable. But more than sustainability, I think even if apartments, if you can channelize your water input into the township well, there's a lot of savings.
I remember in summer, a lot of high-rise buildings had a huge issue on water crisis. So I'm sure everyone are working towards it.
I think it is there even in villa townships.
Yes, across.
It's across the board. Apartment versus villa. I don't think it's a fundamental shift in terms of both developers and homeowners that they need to be very sensitive about sustainable issues. So we see that homes are now coming up with solar electricity generator. So villas has that advantage. You can easily put one on every roof. The amount of roof spaces that are there is more. But at a fundamental level, it is a shift in terms of how you design those spaces and how much you incorporate it into your design.
As Bangalore grows, the demand for planned townships is increasing. So at NVT, how do you envision this? What is your plan on that?
These are voices. No doubt about it. I can let my child walk out of the house without any problem. So we will see more and more of these gated communities. It's where people will move into it from a security perspective, from a community perspective, forming networks and associations. So these
will design play an important role on this?
Definitely. So one of the important aspect in terms of any design process, there are two aspects of design process that you look at. One is the master plan, right? So how do you ensure that when you walk out, or at least that's how we look at it. When you walk out and when you meet a neighbor, there's there a nook and a corner that you can have a conversation with, right? So you have to design your spaces where every villa, every unit is close to a green space. There are these walking corners. It tempts you to have a conversation, and because you're building a community, you're not building a standalone house in a BDA developed unit, where you're building a community, and hence the design aspect, which gets into the master planning, that becomes a very, very important aspect. The other thing, these communities certainly have the clubhouses and other recreation centers, children play area, specific places for the elderly and others. And hence, there's a lot of effort that goes in terms of building those community spaces.
Yes.
So this is the future of living, definitely.
NVT is known for delivering high quality projects. What are the core values?
Oh, we just want to keep it simple, and we want to be very transparent, right? From a fundamental level of value systems, right? So this is the value. Keep it simple and be very transparent, and it all comes in from the fact that we are professionals. And I always look at it that if I was in the buyer space, how would it? What's the kind of a thing that I would be expecting, right? And I believe that being simple and being transparent is the thing, and that's what I tell my sales.
That's the mantra of NVT.
That's a fundamental from a value perspective, right? But there is a value which the company looks at and drives the product development, and that value is quality in design, quality in construction, and quality in specification, which is very important. So these are the two pillars in terms of the quality from an individual perspective. Keep it simple and be transparent. I tell my marketing folks also, if you do not have an answer, be graceful and tell, I do not have the answer. Nothing is going to fall, right? As long as you're upfront about it, and that goes even to the legal team, right? If you don't have an answer, just be upfront that you do not have an answer, that you'll get back.
Yes. Or find a solution to it.
And then find a solution, right? And I believe customers are reasonable if you are reasonable.
Yes. I mean, you can't just get on their nerves so that they take their decisions the other way around.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, I would like to know a little more about the vision of NVT.
Okay, we would still like to be simple and keep it as transparent as possible. But from a growth perspective, I think we have done close to 2 million of square feet.
This is what I wanted to understand. Numbers is what people realize, So I wanted you to speak a little bit about numbers.
So around 2 million is what we have done in terms of the villa development in the last 10 years, maybe precisely 11 years. And in the next 5 years, we are going to launch and develop close to 5 million. Right? So we will more than double our number of square feet area that we are going to do, both from acres of development that we will be doing, as well as the number of units that we will be giving out. So it's going to be interesting 5 years for us from a ramp up. I consider this as a true ramp up period for us.
Whatever you did in 11 years, now you're going to submerge that into 5 years.
We have to do it in fact less than 5 years. We expect that we'll.
I think three of you as brothers, as family. I mean, you bifurcate things and do. I think that adds a lot of value.
Absolutely, we are partners in crime, and life has been such that I don't think my father ever planned it in that ways. Tanuj comes in from finance background, and he manages the entire finance, procurement, and other things. I come in from marketing. That's what I did prior to starting. So I am in the marketing and the legal side to it. And Nitin was a consultant earlier, and he's in the execution side of it. So it's a good relationship.
Good mix, you have everything in house.
Absolutely. So you do not have to fear that someone will leave you or resign.
That's right.
So you have a team which is a very, very strong team.
One more thing, would you guys move out of East Bangalore and develop something other parts of Bangalore as well?
Yes, from a development perspective, I believe Bangalore, and that's what even the number of launches and units between East and North. Typically, the market is around 70%.
Okay.
So we are looking at North also.
Okay.
In terms of we have certain discussions going on, and while we have till now focused on East, till now 80% of the product focus is in the east of Bangalore, but we are moving. We have some projects even in Budigere, and now we are moving towards Hindu Road side.
Great. If I'll have to ask you 3 USPs why people should buy NVT product.
I would again go back to the philosophy that we have, which is in terms of quality in design. And I will just specify that design is a complex art where you have to get the master plan, all these spaces to interact, and the units in the right configuration. That is from a master planning perspective. Inside the home too, you need to get it right. How do you ensure light, ventilation, everything is proper, everything is homogenized and in harmony with each other, right? So quality in terms of the design is very, very important. We do not have an area which you can even consider as dark, right? Or even it is not, everything will be lighted up even in the daytime. That's a focus in terms of design. So if you visit our projects, you'll see that both from master plan as well as our villa designs. The second is in terms of the specifications. We take imported marble, the flooring, the wooden laminate flooring, the kitchen tiles, everything that we do is at a very, very premium level. Switches, and not only what is visible, even what goes inside, whether it's the steel or the foundation or the cement, everything comes from very standard sources. And the third is construction, right? And I think the most painful and most difficult thing is we need to get that right. But in terms of the construction specs, in terms of how a marble is laid and polished, the skirting, how it is nosed, these are some very, very minor. There are other aspects in terms of construction, in terms of the up beam, down beam, waterproofing. Waterproofing is one of the most problematic
Very
area.
important.
The entire projects that we have done, we fundamentally, we may have some dampness because that can happen, but we do not have a roof that leaks. That's something that we are very clear about. So these three things become
a solid
important.
foundation,
a solid
a
foundation
USP to sell.
You want a villa that you really, really will enjoy staying, please do come to us and visit for yourself to see what it is all about. It's very, very clear for me. I build the townships for myself.
As you rightly mentioned at the beginning.
If I can stay, if I can grow my children in these places, I'm sure you or any of the professionals, because I consider myself on this side of the table. I could have been on what the consumers are doing. It's just that one thing led to another, and I started building these spaces. That's the only difference.
Vivek, thank you. I think we come to the conclusion now. It was very nice interacting with you. I think I especially got a lot of insights about NVT. I'm sure the audience who would be watching this would also love to know what NVT is all about, So that's going to add a lot of value.
It's always great to meet up with professionals.
Same here.
And it's always a pleasure.
At ReTalk, our whole aim is to educate people,
Absolutely. And these conversations do help. I hope I added some value.
You did.
To your audience.
Thank you very much.
We
look forward.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.